Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. Here's your flash briefing for the week of February 5th. City Council meet for regular session Tuesday night at 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. You can quickly catch up on City Council meetings by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Heads up drivers, be road aware. A section of northbound Northeast Rice Road near the retention pond will be closed for 2 months for stormwater pipe repair. The contractor anticipates intermittent daily closures. All work is weather permitting and schedules are subject to change. And Southwest Hollywood Drive and Southwest Summit Crest Drive north of 150 are set to close for utility work for 1 week, weather permitting. Find detour routes on the city's website. And stay connected with the city by following us on our social media platforms. Be the first to know about city updates and related news. Find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden.
And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks.
And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour. This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work. Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Well, so for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook, just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station, and the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better, and that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we have doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, We have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here to fill up our air tanks. You see firefighters wear the big air tanks on their backs and they use those in a fire. We can come back and fill those up and make sure that we're ready to go again when we're wanting to go run another call. We have our own workshop here. We work on a lot of our tools and making sure that everything's clean and operational, and this gives us the capability to do that, again, to make sure that we have everything we need and we're as capable as we can be running calls throughout the city. Cancer prevention is very important in the fire service right now. Because of that, we have an extractor machine, and what this does is gives us the capability when we come back from a fire, we can put our bunker gear into this machine and get all that really nasty crud off of our gear. Again, kind of getting back to that cancer prevention mode, allowing us to be as clean as we possibly can for the next call. And finally is our bunker gear room. We each have our own individual locker. This gives us the opportunity to store our gear when we're not here working in between shifts, as well as keep a clean extra set on here in case we do run a fire and we need to clean our current gear. Typically, this is where your day starts off at the fire station. You come in and get your gear and put it on wherever you're working that day, and then you end the same way, bring your stuff back to your locker to go home after working. This is Med 3. This ambulance just currently moved into the station from Station 7. Station 3, since we've had it built, has turned into one of our busiest stations in the city. Therefore, we wanted to provide the best care in the closest unit as we could. So we moved one of our ambulances up, and this became Med 3 for this particular instance. Out of this station, we also have Pumper 3. And that's a fire apparatus that they utilize to run the calls on this west end of the city. The last vehicle that you see is the chief's vehicle. We have 2 shift chiefs on shift every day, and they split the city. And this chief running out of this station typically covers the west and south area of the city, while our chief of Station 2 covers kind of that northeast section of our city, and they divided it up evenly.
Thank you for going on a tour with us today. If you have any other questions about the Lee's Summit Fire Department, please go to our webpage at lsfire.net or follow us on Facebook at Lee's Summit Fire Department.
Thanks for joining us on the tour.
It's extremely rewarding overall. Just the fact of working with other council people and other volunteer commission members that are so involved and care so much about making this community better. It sort of kind of lifts your own spirits by being involved in that kind of environment with other people like that. For many years, I was a typical resident, raising a family, going to work, in many cases leaving the city for employment, and went through a leadership class through the chamber. Learned a lot about our city and learned about all the great amenities and resources we have, and was asked if I was interested in volunteering on a commission. I said yes, and kind of the rest is history. I've just completed my 3rd year on City Council, and so looking forward to finishing strong with this first term, and look forward to continuing to serve this community. My thing is there's so many talented people in this community that believe in so many different initiatives, and for me, one of the big reasons why I decided to run was that as a residential taxpayer, I felt that we can always increase the business tax base of our community, and that's kind of been a big part of my involvement on City Council, is to encourage and promote and make it easier for development to occur, commercial development to occur in our community, to increase that tax base and diversify that tax base. And so I think we've made significant strides the last few years. We've had a collective great group of council members and mayor where we've really truly accomplished a lot of things that there were somewhat kind of stumbling blocks for previous councils. Working new contracts with our union personnel, firefighters and police was a big accomplishment for us. The fact that we were able to push along some initiatives like the downtown renovation for a market, a farmer's market. It's been a great experience to be part of those meetings, to help nudge it, and to the point where we have a developer involved is just a great feeling to have been part of that. and others. I mean, I think our park system, we've continued to support our park system to add a new community center, for example, that we negotiated with the Metropolitan Community Colleges. So I'm proud of all those things and just being able to help make a difference in many aspects. I love definitely spending time with my family. We have 3 daughters and they're all fairly active in some in sports and other extracurricular activities. But for me, I love being outdoors. I love the trails, I love riding my bike, and I love playing golf. And we have awesome amenities and options within our community to have that kind of a lifestyle. This June will be 25 years that my wife and I have lived in Lee Summit and have raised 3 daughters in this community. I know this city has incredible, talented residents that come from all different walks of life, very diverse group of families in our community that it's so rewarding to be involved on a government level or some kind of civic commission or committee that in many cases you get out of it more than you put in. And I truly live by that and I believe that.
We will call to order the February 8th, 2024 meeting of the Planning Commission. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mark Kitchens,
Present.
Cinda Rader,
Present.
Jake Lovelace, Dana
Present.
Arth,
Present.
Donnie Funk, Terry Trafton,
Present.
Tanya Jonna Ford, Chip Tazinski,
Present.
Randy Benbrook.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Can I get, next thing is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion for approval on that, please?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as, so.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Now we have public comments. Do we have anyone here who,
Yes, Chair. I think we need to take a vote on that, too.
oh, gosh, okay. Yes, thank you. Can we get a vote, please?
Mark Kitchens,
Yes.
Cinda Rader,
Aye.
Jake Lovelace,
Yes.
Dana Arth,
Yes.
Terry Trafton,
Yes.
Chip Tazinski,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
Okay, so now we'll do public comments. If we have any from anyone in the public wishing to make any comments on the business of the Planning Commission in general. Okay, I see we have none, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have 3 items. Number 1, application PL 2023-237, vacation of easement, 1801 Southwest Fountain Drive, Rami Shakir applicant. Item 2 is application PL 2023-357, sign application, Total Wine and More, 1648 Northwest Chipman Road, Infinity Sign Systems applicant. And number 3 is the approval of the January 25th, 2024 Planning Commission action report. Do we have a motion?
Ms. Vice Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a vote, please?
Mark Kitchens,
Yes.
Cinda Rader,
Aye.
Jake Lovelace,
Yes.
Dana Arth,
Yes.
Terry Trafton,
Yes.
Chip Tazinski,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
Okay, so now we will move to the public hearing part of the evening. We have application PL 2023-335, rezoning from RP2 and CP2 to CP2 and preliminary development plan, Prodeo Youth Center, 107 Southeast 9th Street and 902 Southeast Douglas Street, Engineering Solutions LLC applicant. Can I get anyone who wishes to speak on behalf of this application to stand up and be sworn in? Okay. Hi, Mr. Slish. Can I get your name and address for the record?
Matt Slish, Engineering Solutions, 50 Southeast 30th Street, Lee Summit, Missouri. I have a whole crew with me today, so as we have questions, we can answer any of them, I promise. So we are here this evening to talk about the site that has been sitting open for quite some time. Previously there at the corner of Douglas and the outer road is a Big Tex trailer, kind of to the west of the Lee Summit High School, to the east of the railroad tracks of Harris Park. West and north is generally some residential, and to the east starts kind of that outer road, the outer belt commercial area. The site sits is just generally under an acre in size. There are 2 lots that are there. The corner lot is zone CP2 already, and then the westerly lot that's about 90 feet wide is zoned RP2. So our request with our preliminary development plan is to rezone everything to a CP2. And in the CP2 zoning, we kind of identified that piece of the code where it talks about the full range of retail and office development, but also serving the general need of the public. And this is that project. This project provides a community effort and a community resource that is needed for our young adults. So as we look, this is just a picture kind of from the site. As you look to the north in the upper right, you can start to see the residential. You'll see the U-Haul facility there to the right side, the rental area. To the west or down 9th Street, you'll see our sites there kind of on the left side. Let me pull it over here so you can kind of see this is our site over here as you look down 9th Street, you'll start to see the residential area. And then directly to our east is the Diamond Muffler that's been in town for as long as I can ever remember. The site as it sits, so on the south side is Blue Parkway, or the outer road, 50 highway sets off the page to the bottom. Douglas, Diamond Muffler there to the east. The proposal is a 7,800 square foot multi-use office, kind of an interesting sort of use for a youth facility. I'll show you some insight here in a minute. Then there's some outdoor space, kind of on this upper part is kind of an outdoor gathering space where you could have the picnic tables or outdoor uses. The interior is another kind of outdoor space with some more covering, and then an outdoor basketball facility on the southwest side. As you get to the west side then is the parking for this facility with a drop-off. The uniqueness of this facility is, since it's serving the high school youth or the youth of our area, is it is an operation typically from Monday through Friday from 3 to 5. So it's just basically an after-school program that lasts for a couple hours. Prodeo has their own vans that will go out and collect students and bring them to the site and then actually take them home. Parents or guardians can bring them to the site, and they're all registered to come, so the staff knows exactly who's going to be there every day. As prior to that, they're coming, they have to register and identify who's coming. So the purpose of stating that is we have 17 parking spaces on site, and the reason for that is there's not a lot of parking traffic that comes to the site. So everybody's either brought by their Prodeo van, by a guardian that comes and drops them off and picks them back up. Serving generally 40 to 60 youth in a day program, which staff has a ratio of about 10 to 1, so we're having somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 staff members on site at all times. But where you're starting to see is the trip generation that could be created with a 7,000 square foot building isn't here with this type of facility. With this site, you'll also see the landscaping that obviously it goes around the perimeter, and then obviously to our west will be a heavily screened with a fence to shield us from the neighboring resident who was at the neighborhood meeting, and will kind of comment some of the things that were said at that process. This gets into the conversation of traffic, just to kind of give you an idea of what's out there and kind of what's expected. So in your packet, there would have been the transportation analysis done by your city traffic engineer, which would have showed 446 traffic trips a day from the facility. As we're saying, based on the use and the number of people that'll be here, it's actually going to be super low. It's going to be, because of that 2-hour period, probably less than 50. In the area on Douglas, you'll start to see the trip generations in the area. There's 3,000 and 4,000 cars kind of going down the outer road and up and around 9th Street. So a relatively high traveled area, a good spot in our area for that side. So this begins to start the discussion on the architectural elevations. Primarily it's architectural metal panels and a brick facade, trying to reach, and Roger's here to help me on this as we get to the spots, but keeping the roof lines lower, try to get to that feel of a residential area and mend with it well, but also start to work its way into the commercial area as it kind of continues to the east. And so you'll start to see the north elevation that would be facing up to 9th Street, the east elevation that would be off to Douglas, the south that would be coming down towards the outer road or the highway, and then the west elevation, which would be our entry coming on the side where the parking lot is. As we kind of talked about the interior of this facility, there is a lot going on inside this facility. So there's a large gathering space to have the opportunity to get together and do the pieces. This becomes kind of the office and kind of lounge area with visuals of the entire site, so staff has the opportunity to identify who and what's doing anything throughout the entire process. There's study areas, there's a podcast area, there's some game rooms, there's a kitchen area, all with the opportunity to provide the youth a number of opportunities to learn, see, and do things every day to continue to find that thing that's theirs, to find that thing that they can connect with somebody else and enjoy some piece of their high school career. What we'll do then is kind of go through some rendering. So this would be the west elevation, kind of the entry, so you can start to see the architectural metal panels with the brick. This would be kind of a renderings of some of the interior spaces and some of the ideas of what it might look like on the bottom right, kind of on that outside kind of gathering space area. We tried to push all of the outside activity spaces towards the road, so towards 9th or towards the Blue Parkway, to try to keep the noise away from the residential areas, trying to keep that to that side. Again, looking at some renderings of the facility, starting to see the south side where the basketball court will sit. We did hold a neighborhood meeting. We had, 4 or 5 people. I think the notes from the meeting are in there. Pretty general conversations. I think everybody was in relatively good support of the project. There were some conversations. The neighbor to the west was there, so she asked questions just specifically of who's going to be there and how they're going to be there. So we talked through times, we talked through supervision, we talked through the students and the resources that were going to be available to them at the facility. We are open to talk about any of those. Like I said, in staff report, I think, or in your guys' packet, you guys should have our notes from that meeting as well, but we're happy to go through those pieces. I think generally the conversation would be that the overall intent, I think, was a good process. I think our intent and plan now is we'll let staff present, and then maybe through public meeting, we'll allow some of the Prodeo staff to come up and give you some comments on that side, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Hector Soto Jr., Senior Planner. I'd like to enter into the record Exhibit A, list of exhibits 1 through 19.
Exhibit A, 1 through 19, noted and entered into the record.
So the image before you here kind of lays out the area in terms of existing, as you can see, there's a semi-transparent layer here that shows the zoning overlaid the aerial photo. So you can see here that, as Matt has mentioned, this site has been vacant quite a long time. The residence on the peach-colored lot, which would be Lot 9 of Southview Heights, was demoed in 2006. The commercial building that existed on the existing CP2 lot was demoed in 2010, and as Matt mentioned, most recently was occupied by Big Tex trailers. The site sits at the very southern end of the Summit Activity Center. Some of the characteristics that are identified with the Summit Activity Center, or with, I'm sorry, the Downtown Activity Center, is to provide uses that are complementary and supplementary to existing uses in the downtown. So in this case, as it has been mentioned, it does provide a social outlet for a number of the residents, youth that live in the area, and are also in close proximity to the high school to the east, which is about 750 feet that could be traveled by foot. Matt did mention that from a transportation standpoint, a lot of the folks can either be dropped off by guardians or can arrange for rides by appointment directly through Prodeo. Matt had a color version of this, but this shows the layout relative to the surrounding environment. It does include the landscaping that Matt's image showed. So just to kind of touch on a little bit more on what he mentioned, you got the existing residential to the immediate north, to the west. You've got commercial to the east, and as has been mentioned, a lot of the external outside activities have been limited or placed here on the eastern side of the building. So the building does serve as a spatial and visual buffer from those outside activities to the residential uses to the north and to the west. And that's also supplemented by the fence and landscaping that's going to be planted or constructed there along the west property line. From an architectural standpoint, there are basically 3 primary materials: brick, metal panel, of which there are going to be 2 types, and glazing. The use of metal, for the most part, is in that 40% range, which is fairly typical for what we see. We see about 30 to 40% in previously approved projects. The multicolored panels that you see here on the west, south, and north elevation are a metal panel. The finish on those has from what I recall from the manufacturer specifications, the finish has a 30-year warranty on those. The other use of the metal is here kind of accenting some of those same northwest and south elevations, has a more vertical reveal. It's a shade of gray, similar to the brick that's going to be used on the building. The area where we do see perhaps the most substantial visible use of of the metal panel system would be on the east elevation, which would face Steinman Muffler. So it would be oriented away from the residential areas and more toward the commercial and institutional uses that you see further down to the east along Southeast Blue Parkway. There are two conditions of approval that staff is recommending with this plan. Fairly standard, just compliance with the PDP and the building elevations that have been provided and been presented in front of you. So with that, I'll yield to any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do we have anything from the public? Any comments, questions? Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Kent Reeder, 4329 Southeast Cantor Drive. Vice Chairperson Arth, committee members, thank you for your time this evening. I'm a board member for Prodeo Youth Center and the chairman of the building committee, and we're also joined tonight by a majority of our board. Thank you to John Bedoin, Jan Nelson, Fred Lane, Sarah Taylor, Christina Davis, and Jody Springer. We also have our executive director, Dr. Elaine Metcalf, here with us. So I know that the purpose of our meeting here tonight is primarily logistical in nature, but if you'll permit me, and I did not mean to make that joke, if you'll permit me, I will I'll take a quick pause to lend a little bit of context to the building. I heard it as it was coming out of my mouth, and I was like, that's a pun. So Prodeo Youth Center started 13 years ago and is the only teen center serving Lee Summit. Our primary focus is providing prevention services to combat youth mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and self-harm. It's no secret that our country is suffering from a massive mental health crisis, particularly amongst our youth, and Lee Summit's no exception. You might be surprised to know that Prodeo is the only organization in Lee Summit aimed toward prevention rather than treatment of mental health issues in teens. Our approach is to offer teens a safe place to be with their peers while being supervised by trained staff with a minimum of a 10-to-1 teen to adult ratio. We provide tutoring, meals for the food insecure, community service activities, fun outings like going to Starlight Theater and Worlds of Fun. And once the teens form a bond with our staff, they open up and come to us when they're in need. Last year alone, Prodeo provided almost 1,000 tutoring sessions, over 2,000 hours of Fun Friday and summer events, and over 5,000 hours of direct services to families in Lee Summit. In our 13 years in total, Prodeo has served more than 1,000 Lee Summit teens. Over the past few years, we've also developed a partnership with Rediscover to provide mental health support when teens' problems seem bigger than they can handle. We've certainly come a long way in our journey as an organization. The first 3 years, Prodeo existed in the basement of a family in Lee Summit. Then, 10 years ago, New Beginnings, we moved into our current location, which is a space currently occupied by a church, New Beginnings, and they allow us to use that space for free on a handshake agreement. No contract, no lease, just a promise that we can use the space. Last year, Lee Summit residents Bob and Jane Rutherford approached us with a gift of $685,000 in memory of their son, Wesley. Through getting to know the family a bit more, Jane remarked that Wesley could have used absolutely a place like Prodeo when he was a teen. We were able to take that generous gift, and in partnership with the city, we were awarded a matching grant from the Missouri Department of Economic Development for the purpose of constructing our own space. A place that is expressly designed to serve our teens. This new home will be called Wesley's Place in honor of Wesley Rutherford. This new space will also allow us to expand our services to include middle school programming, which we're currently not able to provide due to space limitations. It will also give us the opportunity to add alumni programs to provide workforce readiness and training programs to teens after they graduate. So all of this is to say yes. We're here to ask for your approval for our plans and zoning, but what's going there is so much more than a building. It's an avenue to ensure the future of Prodeo Youth Center, and will allow us to serve even more of one of Lee Summit's most vulnerable populations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone else? If you would state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ajalon Davis, and my address is 1049 Southwest Twin Creek Drive, Lee Summit, Missouri.
Okay, you may go ahead and begin.
Okay. Hi, I am a Prodeo alumni. I'm just here to share a story about my experience with Prodeo and why this project is something that deserves you guys' support. I attended Prodeo starting in 2015. I was in middle school. That was before they had to close their middle school program. When I was 7, my dad was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, and this caused me to have early onset symptoms of anxiety and depression, which isolated me socially from my peers throughout most of my youth. And it especially got bad during middle school and high school when I started to face some bullying and I didn't have any friends at my school. That's when I started to go to Prodeo, and I noticed right away that there was like an ease and comfortability to talking to people and socializing at Prodeo that I'd never had at school before, which looking back is probably because Prodeo is structured to be about teens socializing safely and supervised, whereas schools mostly just focus on education. And the first friend that I ever made at Prodeo was a girl named Sierra, who was in my grade. We found out that we went to the same school, so we started spending time together in school as well. Sierra had a lot of the same issues as myself. She struggled with social anxiety and never had very many friends growing up. But the same as myself, when she started attending Prodeo, she started thriving. And within 2 months, she was close friends with nearly every kid who attended regularly. Sierra once confided in us at Prodeo that her 15th birthday was coming up, and she wanted it to be special, but she was from a small, low-income family. It was just her and her mother. And between that and never really having friends to celebrate with growing up, she was worried that it would just get skipped like most of her birthdays. And upon hearing this, the Prodeo alumni and the counselors all started getting together and planning a quinceañera celebration for her. And I can still remember the way that she floated into the room in this beautiful blue gown. And the gown was gorgeous, but what really lit up the room was her smile, and I don't think I had ever seen her that happy before. But it was a really special experience for everyone involved. Prodeo was always like that, though. It had this air of warmth and inclusivity that I can't really compare to anything but a home. Our teens today are going to be our leaders tomorrow, and every single one of them is going to leave their mark on the world somehow. That's why I can't think of a single better thing that we could be investing in as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashlyn. Do we have anyone else before we turn it over to the commission? Okay. Thank you. Those were very, very good comments, but more presentations. Before we turn it over to commission, I just want to say that I'm going to abstain from commenting and voting on this application. But then we'll just go ahead and start with you, Commissioner Benbrook, if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. This would probably be for the applicant, probably the representative of Prodeo, because it's more about function.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Elaine Metcalf, Executive Director for Prodeo.
Okay. You did swear in? I heard somebody. Okay. All right.
Thank you. A couple questions. This facility is primarily going to serve middle school and high school kids. Is there age restrictions, or is that just who you're offering services to?
Yeah, we offer services. The goal in this new space is middle school through our alumni program. So that could go as high as 21, 22. It just depends on who in the, who is an alumni and who is maybe struggling with housing as they transition out of high school, or maybe they need a job, they need some mentoring. So we really have that goal, since we'll have it when we have the space, that we could have mentoring sessions with like 18 to 21-year-olds that might need to help find their way in the world. Even, even when they're 18, and they've graduated, they have, all their problems don't magically go away. So in our current space, we're not able to do that because we only have so many hours that we can use the facility. In this space, we hope to serve from 6th grade all the way up through young adult.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that you're helping them beyond 18. So the hours of operation were stated between 3 and 5. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday?
So those Monday through Thursday, that's after school hours, and we're really there much longer than that as we're planning for the activities. But teenagers are actually there from like 2:30 to 5 o'clock, and then we take them home at that point. On Friday nights, though, we do start at 5 with a hot meal and then a fun activity. So we're there from like 5 until 10 on a Friday night. And that's all throughout the whole year.
Okay. And I heard a mention that sometimes you go off-site.
Yes.
Do you meet on-site when you do those activities? And do those activities happen on the weekends?
Not on the weekends, no, unless it's something very special, like if we've, been invited to, I know we went to a roller derby one night, and it was a Saturday. So sometimes we have special things where we get free tickets to something, and so we did load up a van of kids and went to women's roller derby. But for the most part, it's Monday through Friday.
It was stated that you got a lot of, from generous donations and from the city. This is a facility that's going to require, obviously monthly funding. Where previously you kind of had a handshake and you had a structure to meet in. Do you have funding in place to keep those monthly bills handled?
A great question. So some of the money that came from the Rutherford family, they let us earmark it as operating reserve. And that's because that's exactly what I thought too. I don't want to put all the money into the building fund and then we can't pay our bills each month. In the case of a crisis, when we have a very strong donor support, but I just wanted that operating reserve. So the board of directors graciously said, let's start a fund. It has to be 4 months, approximately 30% or so of our whole budget has to be in a reserve account so that we never are at a point where we can't pay our monthly bills.
Excellent. One last question. Will the students be allowed to drive to the site? The ones that are old enough and have driver's license?
They can. I can just tell you we don't have very many that fit that category. And I don't know that this has been mentioned tonight, but about 50% of the teens that we serve are at poverty or below poverty, according to free and reduced lunch records. So so anyway, we just don't have a lot of kids who have a car. And so it's imperative for us to have those 3 vans so that we can pick them up at the schools and take them home and take them to these different events. So, a very small handful of our teenagers have a car.
And you originally started in 2013, is that correct?
2010.
2010, okay. So you've been in operation about 13 years
Yes.
now, and you've serviced 1,000 students?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Commissioner Tuzinski?
I have no additional questions at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Trafton?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Lovelace?
Couple quick questions for the applicant. Regarding signage, I just didn't see any on the building. Is that something where you guys display? Is that something where you guys display the organization, or is it just in a rendering that I didn't catch?
Roger Webb here, at 3954 Southwest Ensign Drive in Lee Summit. Yeah, there will be provisions for signage on the building that will be within the code requirements of the city. Actually, we had some renderings that had signage on them. We just didn't make them on this elevation.
Well, and I think they might have been in Matt's, but I didn't know if there was anything on 50 Highway side either, and so just not having them on here, it was just a thought, wanting to make sure that if that's messaging you wanted out.
I think the idea would be, and we haven't fully vetted it, but to provide signage along the road where applicable applicable and we're allowed to within the certain size requirements.
Okay, thank you. And then just a question for operations. So how do you guys get your messaging out as far as to be able to attract some of the youth, and bring them into the program?
We have a great relationship with the school district and all of the counselors, as well as the support professionals, the special education department as well. So we are constantly collaborating with the school district. We have an opportunity, our Prodeo staff goes into all of the 9th grade classes in their health class. And there's a unit on mental health, and so our Prodeo staff is actually leading an activity in the classroom. So in essence, we get to at least be in front of every 9th grader in the R7 school district. The other way we get a lot of our teens is through the counseling resources that are available. So any of the licensed counselors know about, or many of the licensed counselors know about us, and we either have an MOU with them or just a sharing of knowledge that any teenager who is in school is eligible and available to come to Prodeo. Sometimes that therapist or counselor actually walks them through the door the first time to help them feel comfortable and at home. Once the kids make a friend, they've got it from there. But so it's our relationship with the counseling profession as well as the school district.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rader?
Here. Elaine, I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. So I read 40 to 60 kids. Is this your current capacity or what? No, okay.
Right.
So you'll be able to expand. What do you think that number is going to be?
Yeah, right now, in the space that we're in, 44 is what the capacity of the room is. I can tell you when you get adults and teenagers in that space, it's not good. So anytime we have that many kids registering, we're trying to go off-site. In this space, so we probably would limit our interactions at Prodeo to like 35 right now. In this new space, feel very sure that we could supervise up to 60 kids just by having so many different places where they can go and hang out and different kinds of activities that can happen that way. So it'd be so great to serve 60 teenagers on a Friday night, keep them safe.
Absolutely. And so have you been turning people away?
We haven't. No,
Okay.
because what we do, since we know they're coming and they register and through an app that we have, we go, okay, well, we were going to do, teen trivia that night. Well, if we can't do it in our facility, we go to one of our partners, typically another church or one of the Parks and Recs buildings or something. So if we get more than we can accommodate, we don't ever turn anybody away. We just move locations.
Thank you. Fantastic. Thanks, Vice Chair.
Commissioner Kitchens?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll start with you, Director Metcalf. Thank you so much. The operations on here seem pretty straightforward. I think we can all agree we love Prodeo, but I'll save that for comments. I have a little bit of concerns about the parking at the facility. I think we all do. Matt did a good job describing that, but a couple questions about renting the space out. Is that currently under your operational guidelines at all?
Not at all. Yeah, since we're in borrowed space, if you will. So no, we don't.
I get it. Just got to make sure on that one. I could see somebody trying to rent this place out from you, and I'm going to guess you're going to get requests for it to be rented out. That would not be the intended use of this facility, and quite frankly, from the Planning Commission side, if that ever were to happen, we would feel quite taken back at that. So I'm glad to hear that that's not in the plans, because right now we're being asked to take quite a diminished parking plan because of the use specifically that this facility is going to be under. I think Commissioner Benbrook spoke best when he asked about your financial security on that. Basically, from the point of view, is if you weren't secure and as well managed as you guys are, fantastically well managed and funded, this would go up on the market someday. And somebody else would use it for a different purpose. And so we're being asked basically to apply this parking capability across the board there. You mentioned that your facility would have upwards of 60 youth at a time. Now, are you planning on having weekend activities at all with them?
Not planning to have weekend activities.
You're not going to have an agreement with LSR 7, as we know that they've had with the King's Church, right there, I believe is their name, for parking. We're not going to see that being extended to LSR 7, correct?
So I'm going to defer.
It's a hard question.
It is a hard
guys.
question.
We
I
get in
would
the
like to
nitty gritty.
defer to
I
Matt or
apologize.
Steve.
Are you asking if parking would be available to the LSR 7?
Correct. During the construction periods, they did park at the church adjacent to the high school in an agreement with the church. I would not be happy if it were crossing the street
Yeah, and I
there.
don't know that no one I know has had a conversation about doing any shared parking from that side. We've had conversations going the other way with like the King's Church and other places that if we ever got to the spot that like we're talking about, maybe some year there's 20 kids that drive, where do we put them? Then we've had conversations with King's Church saying, hey, in those events, would this be possible? And we've started that initial and haven't got to the point of closing because it's not necessary now, but they have looked out and forecasted the ideas of what's the next step in those situations. But other way, we haven't had anybody ask us to use ours.
Wonderful. You precluded my next question, right?
Sure.
You're going to grow.
We
If
are
you have
gonna
a
grow.
facility this beautiful and you guys are managing it the same way you're managing right now, you're going to grow. And so my questions are targeted at the growth here. I see it expanding huge lengths. For signage, for 50 Highway, I think might be some missed opportunity there. And I would love for this to be a gem on 50 Highway, quite frankly. Thank you, Ms. Chair. Thank you to the applicant for such a beautiful project as well.
Thank you. So I guess we can move on to comments from the commission and/or a motion. Does anybody have comments on this side? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Trafton?
Thank you, Vice Chair. First of all, I want to say I'm friends with Elaine Metcalf. I've known her for several years. I'm also friends with a board member. I just want to let you know I'm making my decision based on the information in front of us tonight. And I've been a longtime supporter of Prodeo and have known it since its inception. And the incredible growth and benefit to this community that Prodeo is amazing. What they're doing to help kids and prop them up and transition them into adulthood is wonderful. So I've heard many of the stories. I appreciate the young lady, Miss Davis, and you sharing your story. That was wonderful. I've heard lots of those stories, and some of them are tragic. So I am excited that you're putting a wonderful building in this spot. That lot has been vacant forever, and this will be a wonderful way to beautify that part of the city. I love the fact that it's down the street from the high school and close to the other ones with easy access to the road system. So I don't have a concern about parking there. I know that most of the people are brought in. I understand there may be events, and we can never project what future use of a space is. I am confident, since they own the building, their intention is to grow in the building, and that's a good thing for everything. And I did see in the neighborhood notes that the neighbor next door wanted to sell her house to you guys, so maybe if you get another donation, you could expand your parking into her lot. So I'll put that out in the universe, and maybe that'll come back to you. So I'm very supportive of this application and moving it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Trafton. Commissioner Lovelace?
I just want to thank the applicant for the work that you guys are doing. This is obviously a very, very valuable thing. I'd love to learn more about it. And thank you guys for bringing it here and doing this service for the community. And then also specifically to Ashelon, thank you very much for sharing your story. That's a great story, and drives home the purpose of organizations like this. So thank you guys very much.
Commissioner Rader?
Chair. Well, it was hard not to cry. I had to get my face down below because tears were running down my face when I heard Ashlyn's story. So I want to say that I'm so sad that we have this in our communities, in our country, but I'm so thankful that you are here and that Prodeo has, stepped up, and they have been around for a long time. I've heard about it and heard all the good things, and Elaine Metcalf is an absolutely wonderful person, and she's perfect to head this up. And then thank you all for participating as well. I know it's a lot of work, and it is going to be a really good project to be there on the corner, and it will beautify that area. And so thank you so much for doing all that you've done. Thanks, Chair.
Commissioner Kitchens?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't grow up around here, but I grew up on what people would call the wrong side of the tracks. I would like to think that if something like this had existed where I grew up, I wouldn't have made a lot of the mistakes that I made. Hearing Ashland's witness or testimony up there really spoke volumes. We get a lot of projects across our desk that we have to look at the benefit to the community and weigh it against other things. But quite frankly, this is a paramount. There's nothing more important than our youth. So I can't imagine a Lee Summit without Prodeo. And this has got to be the best project in the 5 years I've been on the commission that I've had the pleasure to vote yes on. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the applicant.
Thank you. Commissioner Rader, do you want to make a motion?
I move to recommend approval of application number PL 202335, rezoning from RP2 to CP2 to CP2 and preliminary development plan, Prodeo Youth Center, 107 Southeast 9th Street and 902 Southeast Douglas Street, Engineering Solutions LLC, applicant.
Can we get
I'll
a
second.
Okay. Thank you. Can we get a vote, please?
Mark Kitchens,
Yes.
Cinda Rader,
Yes.
Jake Lovelace,
Yes.
Terry Trafton,
Yes.
Chip Tuzinski,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion has passed. I do want to just say something that I've become very familiar within my own family of the crisis, the mental health crisis that we do have, and it really is a serious thing. And it's with our youth, and Ashlon made a very good point about the fact that this is our future. And so we are all very grateful for the way you're investing in our future leaders. And I've never sat in a hearing before when I felt like crying. So we just appreciate it, though. Thank you guys very much. I guess we're ready for a roundtable. I don't even see Ryan here to talk about the football score coming up. Or is he here? Is he? So, does anybody have anything? Okay.
Yes, Vice Chair. So I know this has been brought up in the past, kind of tongue-in-cheek, about us not having access cards to get into the, the commissioner's room? Chambers, thank you, Chambers. This evening, when I was sitting in the room by myself, a citizen from the public walked right in. And she was very polite and very nice, and she was trying to find her way to the main room here. So I showed her where it was and that the glass doors just hadn't been unlocked yet. But it did strike something very interesting to my mind, that the chamber doors is very close to the exit doors, and that's a security risk. And, you know, for the first time, I felt unsafe in this building this evening. So I personally think it is paramount that the commissioners get access cards so that door can remain locked.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre that we just throw a stopper up there to leave the door open. I think we can all agree it's gotten kind of ridiculous and we need pass cards. It can't be that big on the budget. Is that something we need to bring to council, Ms. Chair, you think?
I don't really know who decides that.
That's got to be Mark. Yeah.
We can look into that for you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
He's getting scared. We got to do something.
Yes, I'm quite the coward.
I'll just pile on. Since it gets really cold up here, I think that all the commissioners need to have Lee Summit City overthrows and jackets. I've seen quarter zips, so we can give you all our sizes so we can get that. Thank you.
We aren't paid.
So a wardrobe budget.
And I think while you're on the subject, we all need our name badges too.
It'd be nice to have a Lee Summit
Why
City
not? Why
Planning
not?
Commission
should be
badge
important.
as well.
Can I get a parking space?
So, anything else?
I would like to make a motion to put Terry, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I do have an item. My two oldest sons are part of the Civil Air Patrol. So for those who are unfamiliar, the Civil Air Patrol is the auxiliary unit of the United States Air Force, well-funded, probably one of the best programs I've ever seen. My oldest was an Eagle Scout, went through BSA, was very involved with the Boy Scouts of America for many years, Scoutmaster myself, Eagle Scout as well. And I have to say, the Civil Air Patrol is run in quite a fashion that I have been extraordinarily impressed. They currently meet at our airport. And great donated facility for them to meet at. They do a great job. They do such things as participate in the Young Eagles program. They help volunteer and staff those things. They are utilized, quite frankly, because they're a very high efficient youth organization and can be used in many capacities. It's been brought to my attention that because our wing, our squadron, in the Missouri wing, is the premier, one of the premier in the nation, the premier in Missouri as well. Kudos to Lee Summit. We really pull them in. And kudos to Lee Summit for donating some space at the airport for them as well. However, they are growing exponentially because of their success. The short time that my sons have been involved, the squadron has almost doubled in size. They've also been awarded nationally almost 3 times in a row now. So I would like to bring forward that our airport, as it sees more engagement from commercial flights and things of that, and we pull more money in, we push some more money towards it as well, and think about the youth that can be involved there as well. Civil Air Patrol is one, but Young Eagles also takes part over there. Maybe time that we think about the old facilities that are there, maybe pushing for, as the airport expands, to include some more public space as well for donation. I don't know how that would look. It's just something to put out there for city staff as well when we're moving towards airport plans. So that'd be it.
Thank you. Anybody? Not here to ask. Okay, who wants to? David, you want to do the score? That's like the most important part of the meeting, right?
You dial a friend.
Yeah.
Okay, literally, okay.
Okay, really? That was the same?
It was, so
We had the same
the score that I had in mind is what she just said, 20-17 Chiefs. Close game. Nail biter.
All right. So go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
And we're adjourned.